Hey guys, feeling a little bit better today. You can probably hear my voice isn't quite 100%, but I'm definitely feeling a bit better today, and I've been playing some good games. I'm really close to Queen. I've probably been playing about 2 or 3 games a day recently. I've usually been coming top 3 and 2, and then absolutely like bombing it out in 7th or 8th in the other one, mainly because I've been trying to force God builds. God builds are not really highly contested at sort of king level for some reason. A lot of people going for more hunter based builds, a lot of people going for Night Glacier as well. Ever since we've kind of talked a lot about Night Glacier, I've been seeing it a lot more too. And I've had mixed success with God builds. Now what I will say about God builds is that if you can get ahead early and you can get a really good God build, and when I say really good God build, I'm usually talking about like getting a level 2 Heaven Bomber, a level 2 Soul Breaker, something like that, you know, getting sort of good early game units and getting them to level 2, or at least 2-star rather, and then using that to kind of transition you through the game. So what I'm doing here is I'm playing a God build. As you can see, I found a double God of War, as well as a Heaven Bomber. Heaven Bomber is a good unit to pair with God of War, as is Soul Breaker. Skybreaker is not so much. The reason Skybreaker isn't as good to pair with God of War is that actually his ability is on such a short cooldown anyway, so by the time he's finished casting it, he's usually got it up again to go. Whereas with Heaven Bomber and Soul Breaker, they are burst damage and they are on a longer cooldown, so it's better to make that work. So you might notice here that I've got a very, very good early start for God builds. What I found is a Thunder Spirit. Thunder Spirit is a core unit to God builds. I've also found myself a level 2 Taboo Witcher. Now level 2 Taboo Witcher is actually a pretty good unit to deal with the goblin builds that you're going up against if you're trying to maintain a win streak in the early game. The reason that Taboo Witcher works really well is if he's just sort of positioned correctly, he can basically shut down one of the goblin's abilities, and the things that make goblins strong, especially Skybreaker, is his ability. So if Taboo Witcher can find his way onto a goblin, he's actually a really good unit to sort of shut Skybreaker down. You're going to see it literally right here. This Skybreaker is basically doing nothing. Unfortunately, this guy had hunters. So the Skybreaker didn't do anything that round, but his hunters definitely did. His hunters were definitely an issue. If I had a God of War 2 there, I probably would have been able to tank those hunters long enough, but unfortunately, I only had a God of War 1. It's really not the worst thing in the world. But, you know, I kind of could have built a win streak from this point forward. I still think that I can build a win streak. But usually, when I lose a win streak and I don't feel super confident, what I end up doing is sacrificing my health for economy. So in the scenario that I'm in right now, regardless of whether I win streak heavily or lose streak, I'll probably go to level 6, and I will not then try to pursue level 7. The reason being is that I generally like to play it safe. And the reason I like to play it safe with the build that I've got right now is because, specifically, I like to get to level 9 as quickly as possible. And actually, that even was going to lend me to sell my Lord of Sand and my Skybreaker here to get to 10 gold on round 8. Or at least just the Lord of Sand. If I win, for sure, just the Lord of Sand. But essentially, you know, I want to get my economy rolling to 50 gold as quickly as possible, because, as I said, I really do like to get super early level 9 when I'm playing gods. The reason being is that the earlier that I get level 9, the more likely it is that I'm going to be able to get God of Thunder, and God of Thunder is a massive win condition. So actually I've got a really strong early god comp here. Really strong early god comp. What this is going to allow me to do is essentially preserve HP and build economy at the same time. Now what I'm not going to do is go to level 7 early. The reason I'm not going to go to level 7 early is simply because there is no point. There's not many good units that I'm going to bring on that's going to change my win conditions. I would much rather get 50 gold on the board with my win streak bonus if possible, and just start investing all of that into levels. Then I can get level 8 before round 21, usually by about round 19 or 20, and then I can look to get to level 9 before round 25. And if I get to level 9 before round 25 and I still have good HP and I still have a good economy, I can then roll at above 50 gold, looking for the units that I need, until I am threatened, and I'm basically trading HP for rolls at this point in time, until I am threatened to have to roll down to 0. So right now, again, this is just purely building economy. Level 2 Heaven Bomber and level 2 Soul Breaker are really good with God of War 2 as well. I think at level 7 I can bring on the Source, and that will give me the mage bonus. So that would be a reason potentially to go to level 7, but again, like I said, I prefer to play it safe. There could be like one Beast Warrior or a Knight comp. There's a lot of Knight comps in this game that could just shut down my win streak immediately, and then I'd be kind of screwed trying to get to an early level 8. So there's 2 ways to play it from this position onwards. I do have a +2 win streak to work with, so I'm not in the worst position in the world, so I'm actually not in a bad position at all. However, it is worth noting that if I did lose my win streak after leveling to level 7, I would have to have a hard grind back to 50 gold. And that means that I'd delay my level 8. So by going to level 7 and then losing my win streak potentially, I would delay my level 8. And delaying my level 8 would be very, very, very risky when I'm playing a God build. So you can see here, this guy's got a God of War, and unfortunately my Taboo Witcher got stuck attacking it, but I still managed to get the win because, again, Soulbreaker is just a really, really good unit to pair up with gods. We are now above 50 gold. I don't level here because there's a couple of units that I want to buy. I want to buy the God of Wars and I want to buy the Sources. No point buying the Soulbreaker. I don't intend to have him at level 3 in this composition, so it just kind of is what it is. And now we're sitting on 3 pairs. You know, we've got the Thunder Spirit, which is a very, very important level 2 in this composition, by the way. And we've also got the Source, which is also a pretty important level 2, because she got nerfed fairly recently at level 1, so getting her to level 2 is indeed quite important. So actually it's pretty good that I played the safe game, by the way, because as you can see, I did end up losing my win streak. So I'm going to switch a couple of things around here for the Wolf round. Feathered Dragon or Shining Dragon isn't particularly amazing versus the Wolves, and it's much better to have the stuns from Desperate Doctor, because at level 6, even though I've got a lot of 2-star units, it is worth noting you are at a level that could potentially be at risk of losing the Wolf round if it's not played correctly. So that's why I placed my tanky units on the bottom, which was obviously my God of War, my Heaven Bomber. I kept my Soulbreaker and sort of stuff just behind it, and then I have my Desperate Doctor because the stuns are actually pretty invaluable versus the Wolves. So this is the point in the game where we are just going to start spamming gold into levels. Because I've got a lot of level 2s on the board and I'm kind of sitting on pairs, I have no real need to start rolling. I would not start rolling at this stage in the game for one very particular reason. That reason is that I have so much HP, I can trade HP to invest in levels. So if I start losing, it doesn't matter because I've got 91 HP. So at this point in time, I'm basically purely looking to get to level 8 as quickly as possible. So every piece of gold above 50, I'm putting directly into levels. And if I continue at the pace that I'm leveling right now, I'll hit level 8 by round 19. That means over the neutral round, I could put more gold into getting to level 9. And then I should hit level 9 by around round 23 or 24. That is the aim when I'm playing gods, right? I want level 9 pretty much as quickly as possible. I could go level 8 and roll, but I have to get incredibly lucky. So level 9 gives me the best chance of being lucky, because obviously in this game it is important to be lucky. So yeah. So I feel like I'm in a good enough spot to just get rid of the Taboo Witcher. We're kind of past the point where a single goblin is going to win the game for my opponent, and I want to bring in my Desperate Doctor, as he's obviously a very core unit to god builds. He's got basically perma-stuns going on, so it's really nice to have him. And you can see we're actually still in a really strong position. We've got a really good win streak going into the neutral rounds, and as I said, I am level 8 by round. I am level 8 by round 19, which now I've been able to put a bit more experience in. I'm going to be level 9 pretty quickly as well, which is also really important. I'm obviously looking for some core units now, so when you're at this stage in the game, and if you have a composition that's very similar to me, I would be looking for Storm Shaman. I would be looking for Soul Reaper. Those are 2 really big 4-cost core units. Storm Shaman especially. Storm Shaman is a very, very core unit to gods. I would say one of the most core units to gods, because it just his damage, especially if you can get a refresher on him, which in the way that the items work right now is whenever I'm playing gods, I almost always save my items for refresher on, or at least give me the chance of refresher on Storm Shaman, because Storm Shaman refresher is just absolutely ridiculous. So that's basically what I'm looking for. So I might even get to level 8. I'm going to get to level 9 by round 22, which is just absolutely insane, by the way. And then once I'm level 9, what I'm going to do is roll. I will just be rolling every round once I'm level 9. What I'm looking for, Storm Shamans. I'm looking for Soul Reapers. I'm looking for, obviously, Thunder Spirits, as I'm right now sat on 2 Thunder Spirits. And I'm also looking for God of Thunder, of course. God of Thunder is like the core end game unit that makes this build viable the longer that we go. So there is the guy who's level 6, by the way, and he's playing a hyper roll goblin composition. I've kind of just lost to him there, which I found really rather ridiculous. He is essentially hard rolled at level 6 for 3-star goblins, and then I'm assuming is going to level 8 and just look for a Devastator. It's a bit of a risky strategy. I would not play goblins that way because I don't think goblins are that strong even when you get 3 stars. When you get past like round 25 and you start seeing mage builds come online, doesn't matter if you've got 3-star goblins if you're just going to get blown up by a Tortola Elder, for instance, or a dragon mage composition. So you can see, again, I'm not investing into levels here. The reason I'm not investing into levels is obviously I just want to continue to try and get my core units on the field. Again, still need Storm Shamans, especially for the Hunter player that you can see here. Storm Shaman is going to be incredibly important because he's got a Siren. You know, and we are starting to lose because this is the point in the game where we're now starting to trade HP. Essentially for roles and for units. We know that we spent a lot of time investing in experience when we could have spent that time investing into rolling for the right units. Do indeed find Storm Shaman, which is great because I can sell off my Heaven Bomber finally. And I'm also sort of slowly picking up core units that I would potentially like to get to 3-star. Obviously, I would love God of War to be at 3-star. He's very important to be at 3-star realistically. I'd also like my Source to be at 3-star because it means I cast my abilities more quickly. And I think I've learnt my lesson when it comes to Thunder Spirit. I never really want Thunder Spirit at 3-star unless I have something else to occupy the spot that I'd put another level 2 Thunder Spirit in. Level 3 Thunder Spirit is kind of not worth it. He doesn't really do much. So yeah, I haven't really been particularly lucky on the rolls so far. I'm level 9 and I haven't really found many extra Storm Shamans or Soul Reapers, and that's okay. We are I would say we're fairly weak right now for a level 9 composition. I would say we're very weak actually for a level 9 composition. But like I said, it's perfectly okay to be in that scenario. Because we have so much HP. That's kind of what I've been alluding to this entire time. We had a really good start. It involved just a God of War 2 plus some 2-star goblins. And then we basically utilized that HP. We basically said, okay, right, you know, the HP that we've got can now be traded while we power up our composition at level 9. And we are much more likely to find the units that we need at level 9 because we are level 9. That's basically the way that I'm looking at this right now. And you can see that I'm basically losing to everybody. They're all now hitting their power spikes, like Dragon Knights and the Hunter players, they're all hitting their power spikes. I've essentially delayed my power spike by giving myself the best opportunity to search for the right units. So what you can see here is I'm rolling a little bit more extensively, and the reason I'm rolling a bit more aggressively is because I have like quite a lot of power-ups that I could find on the field right now, and you can see I've got 2-star Thunder Spirits, which is actually going to power up my composition pretty significantly. If there's one piece of advice that I can give to you about powering up a composition, a God Mage composition in general, it's 100% look for 2-star Thunder Spirits. Thunder Spirits in general are just really strong, but 2-star Thunder Spirit is a core unit, and if you get 2 of them, it actually is better than most other units that you could fit in that position. Like, I've learnt my lesson with Siren. I genuinely don't think Siren is good in God comps unless you have God of Thunder already. I actually think she's not particularly good in just a God of War based God comp, but I'd much rather have extra damage in that slot, especially if I have a Storm Shaman at level 2, because he provides the CC that I need realistically. A Storm Shaman CC is actually really important. And I do indeed, again, find a Refresher Orb on my Storm Shaman. Again, this is something that I always play for. I always play for this itemization-wise when I'm playing Gods. It's just such an important unit, and it just changes the face of the way that you play. Unfortunately, he actually got silenced by Werewolf there, so I'm still ended up losing. And I'm at 20 HP, so I'm like, okay, right. I think I'm in a spot now where I can probably look to roll after the neutral round, so I'll probably look to be aggressive with my rolling. Now remember, we have been level 9 for quite some time. We've rolled a lot. We've been a little bit unlucky to not find a God of Thunder at this point, because level 9 gives you a pretty good shot of finding legendaries. That's generally the level where you almost, especially if you roll like over 20 or 30 times at level 9, you are quite likely to find a legendary, and usually a legendary that you need as well. There we go. So we find the God of Thunder, which is great, and we don't even need to be much more aggressive with our rolling here. But what we are looking for is 3 stars now, because we actually have our composition that we really want kind of settled. We've got the God of Thunder. We are starting to, with the reduced cooldowns, we are now consistently beating the people that we didn't before, and we kind of basically build a win streak from this point forward. Now, I could indeed go to level 10. Level 10 would free up another slot for another potential 2-star Storm Shaman. Something that I keep seeing is Devastator, so I'm like, do you know what, guys? Devastator is a pretty good unit. He's actually really good in gods in general. Something that I did make a mistake here, though, is actually I think I should have taken out the God of War 2. And what I do fix after this, by the way, is taking out the God of War 2. I think having a Thunder Spirit 2 is better than having a God of War 2 with no items. And also, I want my Devastator on the front line. The reason I want my Devastator on the front line is versus something like the Hunter comp, so I know that the guy currently in first place is playing a Hunter composition. I want the guy who's in... the Hunter guy, who's probably the guy who's got the best chance of beating me. I want him to essentially take the damage from the Devastator, and you can see here that I do eventually get Devastator just popping off. Does a lot of damage, even with the Marine bonus, it's really helping me out here. And I also managed to get that 1 extra gold to buy the God of Thunder, and now I just need either another God of Thunder or an egg. Because like I said, like the best way to play this game is almost certainly just getting to, especially when you're playing gods, is try and look for any kind of, you do not have to build Thunder Spirit, Shining Dragon and Source at level 5 in a god comp. You can build anything that works with god comps in a god comp. I would thoroughly recommend looking to play around goblins early with gods, look to play with warriors early with gods, and then transition when you preserve HP. Preserving HP is actually really important. Is genuinely really important when you're playing a god comp, because I literally, just before this, I was playing a couple of games. My last game, I lost 50 HP getting to a good economy in the early rounds, and I just never had the HP to trade off to search for God of Thunder. In this game, I had the HP to trade off. It was an active decision that I took in order to trade off my HP. And you can see here I got the egg. I don't want to sell off my God of War, so what I'm going to do is I know that I'm pretty comfortable winning, and even if I lose, I have 20 HP, so it's very unlikely I'm going to lose 20 HP in one go, because we're not playing up against, for instance, any Beast Warrior players. So what I'm doing is I'm locking this egg, obviously, because then I'm going to get a God of Thunder too, and that's going to essentially seal this game for me. The one person that I think could beat me is the Knight player, and the only reason I think the Knight player could beat me is because he could get some really good Night Shield RNG, and I don't have God of War 3. God of War 3 would increase my tanking potential. I was trying to tell this guy that I saved a lot of gold early so that I could trade off and just accelerate to level 9, but unfortunately I couldn't fit that in the text. But yeah, God of Thunder 2. I mean, even if I don't find God of War 3 this game, which is generally quite unusual when you're playing gods, I generally find God of War 3 pretty quickly. But we don't find God of War 3. Obviously, going to level 9 reduces the chances of you finding God of War 3, so that's a bit of a trade-off. The chances of finding one costs go down when you sort of accelerate to level 9. But to be honest with you, we are just so far ahead at this point in time. It doesn't matter. Like, we've got what's really powerful about gods is not the gods themselves, it's the supplementary units that you combine with the gods. And I was very close to getting a God of War 3, but unfortunately just didn't quite find it. He actually isn't as important either, because I've got a lot of armor on him. Also, I've got a tanky frontline anyway with a Devastator 2 and a Desperate Doctor 3. We're also getting our mana really quickly because of Source 3. She's just basically giving everybody their mana. And I do like the adaptation that this Hunter player had. He put a Storm Shaman in, but Storm Shaman 1 is useless. Storm Shaman 2 is the important unit. You really can't play without having Storm Shaman 2 versus gods. So yeah, we're close to Queen, and hopefully we'll get there this week. That'll be awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed another god tutorial. It's a great build. Pretty easy to force right now, but unfortunately if you don't have a good early game, it can be quite punishing if you aren't super lucky later on.